Welcome to the May 17th, 2023 Bernardston Selectboard meeting. Just a brief note, Stan's not going to be here tonight, so I'm pinch hitting. Call the meeting to order at 6:01. This meeting is being broadcast live on BNC TV and live streamed on YouTube. To find BNC TV on YouTube, go to YouTube, youtube.com, and search for Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. This meeting will be available for later viewing by following the link at townofbernardston.org. I've tried it, it works. First order of business is the warrants. I would entertain a motion for the payroll warrant in the amount of $47,619.65.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And to entertain a motion for the vendor warrant in the amount of $73,740.64.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And finally, the minutes of the regular meeting of the Select Board of May 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's vote. Next up is calendar and announcements. First, a continuing issue. The Cushman Library is temporarily closed due to mechanical and septic issues. We're working very hard to get them resolved. We don't have a date or time yet that we can share with you. We will update you as soon as we know. Board of Assessors meeting is Thursday, May 18th, 2023 at 3:15 p.m. in the Assessor's office in the Town Hall. The Bernardston Selectboard meeting is Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the Town Hall. The Conservation Commission is meeting on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall. And lastly, near and dear to our hearts, the annual town meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the events barn at Kringle Candle. We hope all of you can attend. It's going to be an important year for us, so please come. We need to hear your thoughts and your votes. Citizens' concerns, there are none expected at this meeting. We
have nobody else, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, very good. We'll move on. Under new business, the Cushman Library trustees have informed us of 2 resignations and 2 appointments. The library trustees have had 2 resignations, Kelly Gurton and Susan Hackney. Appreciate their service and thank them for all they've done for the library and for the town. The trustees have submitted names for 2 residents to be appointed to the trustees until the next town election. They are Zoe Darrow and Joel Fennell. And we have Joel in the audience here. Welcome and thank you.
So would we want to make a motion to accept the resignations and then to make the appointments?
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the resignations as trustees of the library of Kelly Gurton and Susan Hackney. And to continue that motion to then appoint as trustees for the library until the next town election, Zoe Darrow and Joel Fennell.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's a vote. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks to those that stepped up to fill it in.
Yes. Okay. Next up, vision insurance as an employee benefit. Susan Beauvais, our town treasurer, would like the board to be aware of and consider adding vision insurance as an employee benefit. Currently, vision is available to an employee paid through an employee paid plan that's offered by Aflac. Vision insurance has been added to the suite of available coverages through the Hampshire Insurance Group, where our other health insurance comes from. The cost per month ranges from $6.57 for a single employee to $18.37 for a family plan. The town share of this would be 75% of the monthly premium. At this point, the 3 of us aren't here. I would ask that we hold the consideration of this off until all 3 of us are here. We can discuss it.
I think that's a good idea, and we ought to bring the finance committee into that as well, especially at this point in the budget season.
Right. All right.
Dan will be back in a couple weeks, right?
Yes, we can delay that. Next topic is disposal of highway department wood and stumps. Brian Miner, our highway superintendent, has been involved in discussions with the town of Northfield and Leiden about disposal of wood stumps that are created through various road clearing operations. Brian said that D&E, it's a company in Guilford, Vermont, will no longer take the wood debris. A call to Martin's Farm carries a per-ton fee that would make a full dump truck cost the town roughly $400 each. Brian forecasts that's 25 such truckloads per year. That adds up to quite a bit of money. His discussion would see Northfield host a drop-off site and rent a shredder every 2 years. At current prices, our share would be $5,000 every other year for that service. So further discussions on that before we make decisions.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Brian about that. As we all know, we aren't allowed by the DEP to store wooden stumps at the transfer station. Once upon a time, we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then his alternate at that point was D&E up in Guilford, just across the line, a short truck to get there. They have been having their version of Vermont's DEP fund with their wood, so they're no longer accepting it. Martin's Farm is quite a ways away, and the cost is pretty high compared to what it would be joining with Northfield. Northfield has done this shredding option for several years now on their own. They're trying to get some other towns involved. I guess it happens very quickly once the gentleman starts doing it, to where it could bring the cost down for Northfield as well as ourselves by sharing that cost. Brian will have the availability to truck as he fills trucks to Northfield for that 2-year period and store it on a site over there. So he doesn't have to locate a site in Bernardston to store it and then truck it all over at once. He can take it over a little at a time. I think it's something we should give the Finance Committee a heads up, just so they're aware that this more than likely will be being added to his budget in future years.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when I talked to Brian, that he was actually just looking for some positive feedback to see if he could continue those conversations with Tommy Walker over there. It sounds like
Absolutely.
These conversations.
Yeah, I think it's a good option, and it's when they shred what they have stacked up in Northfield, they're able to use it around their community as a mulch, if you will, in their landscapes around the town. So it's getting recycled. It's not just getting dumped and rotting away. It's a good option, I think.
Next item up is the Bernardston Elementary School usage request. Principal Cindy Schultz has forwarded a BES usage request. The request is for the summer rec camp. Cindy Schultz has approved the request, and it is up to us to also approve it, I guess.
I'll make a motion to approve the BES use request as approved by Principal Cindy Schultz for the Town of Bernardston Summer Rec Program.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. And I assume you want a signature, and it's good to go.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, electronic pay stubs. Susan Bobet, again our treasurer, wants to let the board and the town employees know that the payroll service is increasing the cost of paper payroll stubs. She will be converting employees to electronic stubs soon. The benefit to this is that the pay stubs will be stored on Harper's, the payroll service company, and available for at least a year. Susan will also be asking employees who are not currently on direct deposit to be making the change to direct deposit. So as we head into a paperless society, it certainly makes sense to go in this direction and save some money for the town.
Agreed.
And ultimately the employees. Next item up, transfer station super site closure. The area of the transfer station formerly used as the super site for collection of a variety of materials that cannot be put in the regular trash has been closed for a couple of months. Brian Miner reports that there have been no inquiries about the operation of the site and suggests that the board make a formal vote on the permanent closure of the super site.
I'll make a motion to agree with Brian Miner, the highway superintendent, to close the super site at the Bernardston transfer station.
Second?
And just for discussion on that, it's been an ongoing issue over there. There's not a lot of usage of it. It does take a pretty good amount of time record keeping on the transfer station employees' part when somebody does come in with something, which is not very often, the paper trail has to get along to the solid waste district, and then they have to arrange to come collect it. Many of the local vendors around where you purchase oils do take them back. You just have to ask them to do that. Brian has called many places, and I think, Lou, you can speak to that better than I'm gonna, as the places Brian Miner has reached out to in regards to waste oil, light bulbs, things like that that are brought to the...
Yeah, you're right. In fact, Brian stopped in this afternoon. We just hit on these points again. He said locally, Mark Russell takes the used motor oil because they put that in their furnace up there. They've got one of those special furnaces for that. I believe Raymond's does the same thing over on Northfield Road. He suggested for like fluorescent tubes to contact Aubuchon Hardware. Originally, I know he spoke to the manager over in Turner's Falls, but he also said up in Winchester, New Hampshire, they're receptive to that. So thus far, as you said, there really hasn't been any pushback for the closure of the super site shed.
Can I just ask a question? So will the solid waste district take that? I know they do a hazardous waste day once, maybe twice a year in Greenfield.
Yep.
Is that where the people can still get rid of those things?
Yep, you sign up ahead of
Okay.
time for those and take them to those sites. Yep,
Yeah, okay.
correct. We'll still have the mattress recycling that we have at the transfer station. That'll still be there.
Okay.
This is only for the
That
hazardous
has
waste
waste.
type issues.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Under old business, the annual town meeting warrant. Town council has approved the legality of the annual town meeting warrant. She advises that Article 25 can only be voted as a referendum, that the content of the article would still have to go before the planning board and the attorney general for approval. It is our plan later in the meeting to read through the warrant so all the listeners, viewers can hear the issues. And then once it's been approved, it will be made available to the public and be posted on the website, as I understand it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Very good. So other business, DESE, the Department of Education, Secondary Education. Go ahead.
Elementary and secondary education.
Thank you. There's a discussion about the approval of capital expenditures and whether they get included in the entire school budget or whether they are voted on separately. And it's still unclear at this late hour as to how that is going to shake out. We've heard from Jordan Burns, who is the financial officer over at PBRS, and his understanding of the regulations are that they are included, and there are some voices on our finance committee and select board that would argue that they are to be voted separately, each individual item, and the capital budget is a separate vote for approval or being voted down. So until we have some resolution, we're not going to move on that.
Yeah, historically, the town has voted these as separate budget items. Jordan sent an email around, and I forget what the genesis of it was, but he inquired with DESE, and I spoke to Stan earlier in the week, and Stan is adamant that all DESE can do is advise. They cannot make or enforce any budgetary policies. So this is a question, and I printed out the district agreement for you guys. Brian, you probably looked at it.
Which is
probably
clear.
got it memorized by now.
Which is clear as mud on this topic.
The word capital appears in the district agreement 17 times,
Yep.
and absolutely nowhere does it allude to how the funding is supposed to take place. So this one is for greater minds than mine.
Yeah, it's pretty clear how it's spent on our elementary school,
Yep.
but it's not very clear as to how it's voted at the joint high school, middle school. So
The risk here is that if the capital budgets become part of the entire PVRS budget, and we vote that down as a result of not approving these capital, then the entire PVRS budget goes down with it.
Right.
Correct.
And that's a risk that I can't believe they want to take.
Right.
But
I think there's more to come on that. We're not, by approving the warrant tonight, it doesn't stop us from, on the floor, adding monies to those two line items that the Select Board and Finance Committee did not recommend for capital projects. It's just going to require one more step at the town meeting floor if we have our answers by that point. And unfortunately, it's probably going to have to get the lawyers involved to figure it out. Since the district agreement is from 1989, I think, still.
and it references the 4 towns instead of the 3 towns, and it references
Yeah,
the Leiden Elementary.
I take it back, 1991.
It's time for a refresher.
So more to come on that topic, as
I
Ken
guess.
said originally.
Motion to apply for 2 community one-stop grants. I turn to Lou, and Lou explains everything.
Well, this time I do have some information. I had a Zoom call with Blythe Robinson from Capital Strategic yesterday. Earlier, I had put an expression of interest in for a community one-stop grant for the playground equipment over at BES. That was met favorably by the state, so they encouraged the full application at that point. I wanted to touch base with Blythe to get that application going. There's a deadline on it of June 2nd, so time is of the essence. She said she'd be able to handle that. Her request was for the select board to formally vote to move that ahead. Blythe says that anytime we're working with the state on a grant program, that the state likes to see that the select board has actually dug their heels in and said, yes, this is a good idea. So if you could motion that, but then I would also add that a conversation that I had with Christine Slocum-Wisk, our chair of the planning board, she had mentioned about $11 million that Lieutenant Governor Driscoll has added into the one-stop program for housing initiatives. Chris had mentioned wanting to get some technical assistance work done. Blythe is very busy, but she said she felt that she could use another of the towns that she had applied for as a template for it. So she feels confident she can get both the applications done by June 2nd, again, with the select board's blessing. So if you guys are satisfied with that, a motion and vote would be appreciated.
A motion to support the request for the
Grant application.
both grant applications.
Yes, please.
Do you want them separately voted?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to support the Capital Strategic of putting in the one-stop application for the grant for the playground at the Bernardston Elementary School.
Second?
And we've been talking about that for, just so folks know, for a few months now, right?
Yes.
With the school, the BES principal, the facilities director, Jordan Burns, has been involved with it, the select board, the finance committee in Bernardston. Lou has done some research on his own. One of the things they found is the playground, and rightly so, is in need of some upgrades. As folks may or may not know, playgrounds are extremely expensive.
Yes.
Topping 6 figures without even thinking about it. For not very large ones at those figures. So, if
Yeah,
we
and to your point, Brian, for the one in the loop at BES, we're looking somewhere in the vicinity of $150,000.
it's crazy money for it. So if we are successful in getting this grant, it's not only going to help out the town, but the school district that we pay significant funds into, as well as just the community. It's a big draw to the school, summer months, after hours, because of that playground.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll make another motion to have Capital Strategic Partners apply for another community one-stop grant, a technical assistance grant for a housing initiative on behalf of the planning board.
Yes, the planning board discussed it the other night, and we all, as you know, housing is a real issue in Western Massachusetts and of the whole state. So what we want to do is hire a consultant to come in and look at what we don't have or what we do have, and come up with a plan, and maybe even identify some properties that may be potential possibilities for additional housing of whatever they determine we need. So basically, it's the technical assistance to try to find out just exactly what do we need.
Right, and that will play into the master plan that's out there too. That was one of the
Absolutely.
notes within that master plan we did 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
2015.
And that was one of the initiatives within that was suggested the town does do some work on, so this fits right in with that
The other
master
thing
plan.
about doing this now too is it helps us with, if we had a developer come in under 40B, they can bypass a lot of the zoning bylaws in regards to development. By applying for this grant and doing this process, it shows that we're showing initiative with the state that we want to improve our housing, and it helps to alleviate that process with a developer who may come in and may not do desirable plans for us, so.
This is a focus on low and moderate income housing?
It's affordable housing, but it's
Affordable.
also so we know what we have and what do we need.
So they do some kind of inventory work and,
Yes, yeah, and possibly, it depends on how we write the RFP. If we get the grant, we'll obviously have to put out the RFP, and it requires that we actually contract by June 30th. But the work doesn't have to be done, you have 2 years through 2025 to get it completed.
and,
So it's kind of a short notice, and
yeah.
of course, we just saw that they released the funds, added more funds, so now we're kind of
Right, scrambling now.
scrambling, yes.
So we have a motion?
We do a motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for finding that too. That's
Thank
Good.
you.
Third topic under other business, differences in the FinCom budget amounts versus what was discussed. So in our weekly meetings with the Finance Committee and the Select Board, the joint meetings, we came to a budget agreement, and there's a column on the budget table called recommended by the FinCom. This does not always agree with what is requested by the different departments. When there is a difference, the vote goes to the annual meeting, and what is approved at the annual meeting is then becomes what the committees or the department's budgets are. There's ample time at the annual meeting to discuss the differences, if there are any, and why there are differences. It's just a concern as to when does the particular department discover the fact that their budget's requests were not met in full. And every year it's somewhat of a sticky point as to having the information flow both ways back to the departments so that they are aware of what is being presented at the annual meeting.
And if I can add also, Ken, that we did discuss at those weekly meetings that once we did approve the warrant, we would get emails out to those boards
Right.
where their budgets were changed, which we've said we were going to do in the past and have done a very poor job of doing that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Shame on us, but yes.
So hopefully this year we do the right thing and let the boards know that if we made a change, why we made a change.
We got to rely on the Finance Committee to get those emails out?
I'll try to have a conversation with Jane. Typically, she does that.
Okay.
I know because she creates a wrap up for the town meeting to say at the beginning. So as part of that, to me it makes sense, but also I know she's got a crazy life right now, so we'll see
Yes.
what's going on with that. If we can help her with that, we will.
So now we are at the point where normally we would go into the town coordinators, but we want to go over the warrant?
Before we get to that,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Vice Chairman,
Uh-huh.
that item number 4 under other business, the appointment to the Franklin Regional Planning
Uh-huh.
Board.
Okay. The select, this is from the Office of the Town Clerk. Christina Slocum-Wisk has sent a request. Please appoint Shannon Wisman-Hoare as the town representative for the FR-COG Planning Board member effective immediately. She is filling the vacant position vacated by Joel Cole. Joel had to resign because he moved out of town, and it requires that you be a resident of the town to serve on as the town representative. So I would
If I
entertain.
can see that, I'll basically read it back to you. If I could make a motion to appoint Shannon Wisman-Hoare as the town of Bernardston's representative of the FERCog Planning Board, effective immediately, filling the position vacated by Joel Cole.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's a vote. Now where am I? Reading the town warrant or going to the,
I would gladly defer my time back to you, Mr. Vice Chairman, because it may take a while to get through the town meeting warrant.
okay. We are going to give you the marathon version of the, lucky for you, we haven't counted the number of pages, but there are a lot of them in the annual town meeting warrant. So here it is. Town of Bernardston Annual Town Meeting, June 7th, 2023. Franklin, to either the constables of the town of Bernardston in the county of Franklin. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town qualified to vote in elections and town affairs and meet at the Kringle Barn Events Center, 219 South Street in Bernardston, Wednesday, the 7th day of June next at 7 o'clock in the evening to conduct the annual business meeting and then and there act upon the following articles. Article 1, to act upon the reports of the town clerk, town treasurer, select boards, school committees, all other town officers and committees as contained in the annual town report for 2022, and A, to hear an oral report from the select board on the status of the Charity Lot Trust Fund, B, to hear a report from the select board, C, to hear a report from the chairman of the Fire Station Building Committee with time for questions and answers pertaining to the fire station building project, D, to hear a report from the Finance Committee chair regarding the fiscal year 24 town budget. Article 2, to see if the town of Bernardston will authorize the select board to apply for and accept state and or federal monies and to expend any monies received as set forth in the appropriate application and or document or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The select board and the finance committee recommend passage of this article. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept and expend without further appropriation any monies which may be made available under the Commonwealth through the Massachusetts Department of Transportation for the improvements of town roads, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to authorize the treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements for fiscal 2024 commencing on July 1st, 2023, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. You're on.
I'm on.
And I
Go
would
ahead.
interject here that it seems annually the first, 10 articles or so are usually the same.
Pretty boilerplate.
I think usually we refer to them as the standard articles.
Yes.
Almost boilerplate at this point. It just gives the town government the ability to spend money as
Accept money.
directed. Yeah, as directed by the people.
Correct. Article 5, to see if the town will vote under the provisions of General Laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 41, subsection 108, or any amendments thereto to fix the salaries of all elected officials for fiscal year 2024 and raise and appropriate any sum or sums therefore and further. To raise and appropriate $605,870.08. Transfer from free cash $52,715.81 for a grand total for Article 5 of $658,585.89 for the maintenance of the several departments of the town in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 1, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And for this one, I'm just going to hit you the highlights of the departments. For the Select Board's department, $97,204.94. The Assessor's Office, $53,426.79. The Treasurer's Department, $41,211.33. Debt Service, for a total of $52,815.81. That's to pay off the final payment of the highway truck we purchased 3 years ago. Tax Collector's Department, $31,333. Town Clerk's Department, $42,675.04. The Planning Board, $5,466.56. This is a long table. Board of Health, $4,200. Human Services, which accounts for Powers Institute and the Council on Aging, as well as Veterans Benefits and the Veterans Memorial, $168,896.51. The Cushman Library, $82,340.16. The Zoning Board of Appeals, $659.58. Conservation Commission, $1,601.17. Other boards and committees, which include the Ag Commission, Historical Commission, and Reserve Fund, and transfers from free cash, for a total of other committees and boards, $76,525, which comes up to the total for that article of the $658,585.89, which is an increase over FY23 of $10,329.08.
My turn?
Sure.
Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,515,464 and transfer from free cash $11,577.21 for a total of $3,527,041.21 for Bernardston's share of the educational expense in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the Table 2, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And just again to highlight those, the School Committee stipends, $800, the Franklin County Technical School, $320,877.21. The total PVRSD, $3,205,364. A total for the schools, including all of the above, $3,526,241.21. For the total for this article then would be $3,527,041.21. It represents 55.13% of the budget and 66.62% of the raise and appropriate portion of the budget. The increase over the prior year is $109,618.93. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $531,220.51, and includes the Leiden assessment of $25,663.42 for a total of $556,883.93 for contracted services, pension, and insurance expense in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 3, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And Table 3, again, the highlights, total contracted services, $136,447, pensions and insurance, $420,436.93, for the total for the article of, again, $556,883.94, which represents an increase over the prior fiscal year 23 of $51,729.04. Your turn.
Okay, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,165,936.29, transfer from the landfill receipts $93,080, transfer from transfer station recycling account $2,200, transfer from free cash $22,500, and a Leiden assessment for the policing, community policing, of $69,360.59, for a total of $1,283,716.29. for public services in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown on the first column of the following table, Table 4, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And again, the highlights for this. Total for the fire department, $162,187.22. Emergency management, $16,950. Police department, $414,362.46. Highway department, $496,604.56. Total for the transfer station, $160,742.15. Tree warden, $30,369.90. Other public works, which includes the animal inspector, the charity farm lot, and Memorial Day, $2,500 for a total of the article, $1,283,716.29, which is an increase over the prior year of $176,820.25. And just to note that all of these services that we're mentioning that involve town employees, the town employees were given a 4.4% increase over the prior year, which was a recommendation of the Joint Finance Committee and the Select Board during their meetings. So all of these numbers, when we say increase over prior year, also includes the cost of living increases to the town employees at that 4.4%. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 for the stabilization accounts in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 5, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Stabilization accounts, which includes the special purpose stabilization for vehicles and the stabilization fund for capital projects for a total of $150,000.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $4,963.40 for payroll for the Recreation Commission account, and further to transfer from the Kiwanis Expendable Interest account the sum of $1,000 to the Kiwanis Recreational Equipment Fund to be expended by the Recreation Commission for recreation programs and field maintenance, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $25,000 for any fiscal year 23 town audit, for a fiscal year 23 town audit, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $2,400 for the fifth of 5 installments for the Board of Assessors fiscal year 24 revaluation, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $4,000 for the fifth of 5 installments for the Board of Assessors 10-year reinspection program, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $1,200 for maintenance of the village cemetery, formerly called Old Cemetery, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $300 for the flag replacement account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $5,000 for the Mosquito Control District, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $130,000 for the Fire Station Building account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $10,000 for a grant writer town planner services, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
Can I just jump in on Article 18 there, where he mentioned the raise and appropriate of $10,000. People probably remember last year we created this article for a grant writer, and we funded it with a $40,000 allotment last year. We have secured over $100,000 worth of grants in this fiscal year at a cost of a little bit less than $10,000. So we're just replenishing that fund to get it back to the $40,000 figure.
Yeah, and if I could add, Brian,
Yep.
that when we got that article funded last year at $40,000, we anticipated that a portion of that money was going to be used for matching funds for certain grants, and having the availability of ARPA money, I'm certainly thinking about the repeaters, for example.
True.
That the match came from elsewhere. I know as we look forward, we're looking at some in-kind labor to serve as the town's match for grants. So 10 seems to be the number that capital billed us for.
Correct. Okay, Article 19, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $5,000 to be added to the employee retirement/separation account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. That's for people that choose to retire, that have vacation on the books. We pay them out their vacation that they're entitled to. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $5,000 to be added to the other post-employment benefits, otherwise known as OPEB, trust fund, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $15,000 for the Renovate Construct Town Buildings account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Those previous three articles, which were transfers from free cash, are standard articles annually for those amounts of money to continually fund these accounts moving forward. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to authorize the following spending limits for revolving funds in accordance to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, and the Town of Bernardston bylaw for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Revolving fund for the Council on Aging donations with a spending limit of $10,000. The Board of Health, spending limit of $15,000. Zoning Board of Appeals, spending limit of $1,000. The Planning Board, with a limit of $2,000. The Fire Department, a $2,000 limit. Dog licenses, a $3,000 limit. Public Safety, $15,000 limit. Transfer Station Recycling, $37,000. Cushman Library, $5,000. Agricultural Commission, $5,000. The Newsletter, $2,000. Street Flag Replacement Fund, $5,000.
Article 23, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court for special legislation to allow Chief Peter Shedd, a Town of Bernardston call firefighter, notwithstanding the provisions of any general or special law to the contrary, to serve in such position until the age of 70, or until the date of his retirement or non-reappointment, whichever occurs first, provided, however, that no deductions from the regular compensation of Peter Shedd shall be made under Chapter 32 of the general laws subsequent to his reaching the age of 65 in connection with his service to the town for retirement or pension purposes. Provided, however, that the general court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Select Board approves amendments to the bill prior to the enactment of the by the general court, and to authorize the Select Board to approve such amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public's objectives of the petition, or to take any votes relative thereto. This article was requested and submitted by Chief Peter Shedd. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to purchase and install a convenience drop box at Town Hall to be purchased with SLFRF ARPA funds, not to exceed $2,500, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends passage of this article. You'll note that the Select Board has not supported this article or not supported this article. Article 25, to see if the town will change the definition of the word restaurant as appears in the current Bernardston zoning bylaws. Article 6, from shall mean a permanent structure at which the principal activity is the preparation and retail sale of food or beverage. 2, any business establishment, temporary or permanent, principally engaged in the retail sale of food or drink or refreshments, whether prepared on or off the premises. This article was petitioned by Alexander Fiore.
And if I can just interject right there, Ken.
Sure.
As town council reviewed this warrant, she wanted everybody to know that Article 25 can only be voted on as a referendum question at the town meeting, that the content of the article will still have to go before the planning board through their process and ultimately to the Attorney General for formal approval. So I think that's important to get that information.
So that
out
referendum would give some guidance to the town's planning board
Right.
on that particular petitioned article.
Article 26, to see if the town will adopt a bylaw to eliminate the sale of single-use plastic products and to limit the type of products that may be furnished in the town of Bernardston. To take any vote or votes relative thereto. Proposed bylaw is on a separate handout. This article was petitioned by Lucy Damkohler.
And that's a 6-page document, and it will be posted to the town's website after we approve this warrant.
Yes, and if somebody wants to do a little research tonight, the town of Buckland has nearly identical language. So if you want to get a head start watching at home, I don't know what the URL is for the town of Buckland's website, but the 6 pages are available on their website. And as soon as this board approves this warrant, within 24 hours, it will be available on our website.
So just finishing up on the warrant, you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting upon certified and attested copies thereof at least 7 days before the time of holding said meeting at the 5 places within the town listed below. The Bernardston Town Hall at 38 Church Street, Bernardston Post Office at 9 Center Street, the Country Corner Store on 44 Church Street, the Bernardston Senior Center on 20 Church Street, and at the www.townofbernardston.org. Hereof fail not and make due return of this notice with your doing thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of said meeting aforesaid. Given under our hands this 24th day of May in the year 2023, Franklin SS, pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Bernardston by posting up attested copies of this warrant 7 days before the date of said election, as within directed at the 4 addresses plus the website, signed by the constable. And then ultimately this document is signed by Stan Garland, Brian Keir, Kenneth Borderweek, the Select Board of the town of Bernardston, a true copy attested by the town clerk, Christina Slocum-Wisk.
We're just going to have to change the 24th to the 17th, right?
Right.
So if you want to make that motion to vote on it, if you so desire, I will reprint page 14 with the appropriate date.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY24 annual town meeting warrant as approved by town council with the change Lou is going to make to the date of the 24th of May to the 17th of May? 17th
Correct.
Of May.
Today's the 17th. So not to be confused, the annual meeting is on the 7th. It's just that this document has been signed on
Good point.
on May 17th.
Good point.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a vote.
So everybody understands, as Ken just said, the annual town meeting is June 7th, 2023, 7 p.m. at the Kringle Events Barn on South Street.
We are counting on all of you to attend.
We do the best we can with the finance committee to put the budget out ahead of you. Ask a lot of questions. You can make changes on the floor. We'll tell you what it means when you do. We need your input to make town government function properly. So we're not saying we have all the answers. Sometimes we look to you guys for some advice, so please give it. And we're just going to wait for Lou to come back so we can sign it. He's printing the last page with the date change.
So we'll get that signed. And then we'll move on to the town coordinator report. Oh,
Whoops. Sorry, folks at home. Now you know that your speakers were working. All right, pardon my backside as I walk back into the shot. A couple things tonight. Last Monday, I was invited to a meeting at the Pioneer Valley Regional School with the Secretary of Education of the Commonwealth, Dr. Patrick Tutwiler. The Secretary spent his time at Pioneer listening to concerns raised by students and administrators. First time I got to meet State Representative Susanna Whips. She is now with the redistricting, the Northfield state rep. She raised a great question about funding for rural communities. So after she set the table, I followed up with the secretary and stated that despite the state's assurances that legally they're supposed to pay 100% of Chapter 70 money, that they never do. And he was aware of that, and he seemed very interested in trying to make things better for the rural communities. Speaking of financial constraints, I also mentioned that prevailing wage continually cripples our efforts out here, and that trying to get a school building or a fire station built in Bernardston is a lot different than trying to get it built in Boston or Worcester. Again, he was very receptive to the comments. Whether it goes anywhere, I don't know, but I felt better having stated our case. After that, Superintendent Kinsella had organized a pretty neat day, and I followed up by thanking her because it was really a fun kind of meeting. So many times you end up going to a meeting and it's just really dry and almost by rote that things happen in a meeting. But throughout the entire hour and a half or so, the secretary was very engaged with all the attendees there. And the Pioneer student leaders were Cooper Bullock, Amelia Fowler-Shaw, Peter Loud, and Hugh Syhowski from the baseball team, who are leading Turners right now 8-0, by the way.
Nice.
Elizabeth Brown and Oceana Duclos. Pioneer faculty members, Emily Miner and Nikki Pullen. Elected officials that were there, Joe Comerford, who will be at our meeting 2 weeks from now, Susanna Whips and Representative Natalie Blay. Town administrators, yours truly, and Michelle Geruso from Leiden was there. John Lepore was there as a restoration ecologist. School committee chair Rena Dastus was there, and Pioneer administrators, Superintendent Kinsella, Jordan Burns, and Kathy Hawkins Harrison. It was a lively group. It was very well organized. Patricia kept things really moving on schedule, and the neatest part of the day was she wanted the secretary to walk the nature trail that had been restored last fall. So we all got outside, we took a nice walk, and if you're familiar with the grounds at Pioneer, out behind center field of the baseball diamond, John Lepore was telling us that at one point, that was all a lake. It was something called Lake Hitchcock, which, if you know where the Connecticut River is in relation to the height of Pioneer, it seemed almost unbelievable that the water could have been that high, but subsequent conversation, sure enough. So it was pretty interesting, and as you can tell by my blathering, it was an educational experience. So that was a great day. Whether or not anything is done at the state level to really have the state fortify their Chapter 70 spending or do anything with prevailing wage for the smaller towns, time will tell, but Senator Comerford was close by while I was speaking with the secretary, so she may be able to offer a little more guidance when she's here in 2 weeks. Fast forward to today. Of course, you mentioned during the calendar announcements, the library is still closed while they're awaiting their septic issues. Brian Miner came in just before we got started tonight, and told me that he met with Bobby Dean and Brandon Grover over there this afternoon to take a look at what's going on. This coupled with the meeting that Stan, myself, Dave Powers, and engineer Sean Kimberly had last week, Bobby Dean's got some ideas as to what can be done efficiently over there to make as little disturbance as possible to the patio area. His ideas seem pretty good. He was going to follow up with Sean Kimberly tonight, and once they're on the same page, they'll move forward, order the most suitable sized septic tank, and hopefully get things moving along so the library doesn't have to remain closed for any longer than absolutely possible.
Great.
And that's all I have. Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you very much.
It's good news.
Thank you for running the meeting tonight.
Alrighty.
Can I just add one thing, Ken?
Please.
As far as the town meeting warrant, Lou, when he gets a minute, is going to make copies. There will be copies available at the senior center, the Country Corner store, and the transfer station. Is that correct, Lou?
Yes, sir.
As well as the 6-page potential bylaw for the plastics.
Yes, I made a PDF file of it, so I can get that up on the website in short order. Actually, everything's a PDF, so it'll be a quick upload. We can do that.
So it'll be on the town website if you prefer to just read it online, but if you prefer a hard copy, it will be available at the senior center, Country Corner store, and the transfer station.
And now you reminded me by mentioning the word copies. At long last, we have a new copier here in Town Hall.
Yes.
The old one was taken away today. I had a signed receipt for it. And everybody who used the copier is a happy camper now. So
Nice.
that's a good thing. I still haven't figured out all the bells and whistles, but then again, I'm kind of a dinosaur, so you can only go so far with pencil and carbon paper these days. So we're all set over there, and we will get those warrants available as soon as possible.
Yep.
With that, I'd entertain a
I'll make a motion for the meeting to adjourn.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
We brought it in under an hour.
Good night,
Nicely
everybody.
done.